There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the official release of the white paper, India Singapore ESDM Industry Collaboration Opportunities, by our chief guest, Dr. Raman Singh, the Honorable Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh, the presence of Y. Lai, Director SSIA, and Mr. Anand Rao, Vice President Business Development, Ernst & Young. Thank you very much indeed. I'd like to now request Mr. Amit Mahendru, Senior Technology Analyst, Ernst & Young, to take us through the findings of the white paper.
Hi, good morning, Honorable Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh, respected dignitaries on the dais, and all the ladies and gentlemen. I will just take you through the summary of the report that Ernst & Young has done along with IESA and SSIA that focuses on the collaboration opportunities that exist between Indian and Singapore's ESDM industry. So India and Singapore have shared, strong trading relationships, ever since past. Singapore is India's seventh largest source of investment, and also, 25% FDI inflows in 2013-14 were from Singapore and India. India and Singapore, signed a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement in 2005, after which the trade relationships have expanded significantly, and now India and Singapore have a $19.3 billion of bilateral trade on an overall basis. ESDM industry has also played a significant part in this overall trade, and in 2013-14, $2.7 billion of electronic imports in India came from Singapore, while India exported $0.5 billion of services and products to Singapore in 2013-14. Both the countries offer unique propositions for the ESDM ecosystem. So while India has a very strong ESDM industry, which is growing at a very fast rate, so in 2015 it is expected to be $94.2 billion. So India has a very strong design ecosystem. So we know that India is home to more than 120 plus design units, employing a workforce of more than 20,000 VLSI design engineers, and on a total basis, the design workforce of more than 250,000 people. Some of the other unique propositions that India has is that the government has a very strong focus on developing ESDM ecosystem in India. The government has rolled out subsidies for setting up the electronics manufacturing units in the country. The government is focusing on developing the ESDM EMC clusters, ESDM manufacturing clusters, and the government is also providing other subsidies for R&D, etc. The other significant initiative that the government has taken is the approval to set up 2 fabs in the country, and 2 consortia have already initiated working in that direction. One challenge that India faces is that while we have a strong design ecosystem, the manufacturing capacities lag far behind the demand that we have in India. So going by the estimates, if the concerns are not addressed, then by 2020 we know that the demand-supply gap in India is going to be around $300 billion, which is a huge number. Singapore, on the other hand, has a very comprehensive and an end-to-end ESDM ecosystem. So the country is home to 40 design units, 14 wafer fabrication units, and 20 ATMP facilities. The country had a manufacturing output of electronics worth $64 billion in 2013. The country has a very strong technical know-how of the entire ESDM ecosystem, and has a very strong focus on R&D capabilities as well. So through these strengths and weaknesses that both the countries have, there exist multiple collaboration opportunities between both the countries. So Singapore, since we will have 2 fabs coming up in India, so Singapore companies can come and invest in support ecosystem for fabrication units in India. They can provide capital equipment for setting up these fab units, and the overall support ecosystem would also be very helpful. In addition to the technical imparting technical know-how for the wafer fabs in India. Similarly, with the wafer fabs, the demand for ATMP units will also increase. Since Singapore has a very strong ATMP ecosystem, so they can come and set up ATMP units in India as well. Similarly, there would be a need for component warehouses, wherein Singapore companies can come and invest in component warehouses in India as well. Singapore, as of now, is facing challenges from other low-cost Asian destinations, because of which they would also need to explore other low-cost destinations. So what we are saying is that, that there exists, since India is a very, has a very favorable cost proposition, so Singapore companies can come and explore India as a low-cost destination and outsource some of their labor-intensive manufacturing operations to India. Indian companies, on the other hand, have also got a major role to play in Singapore's ESDM ecosystem. Since India has a very strong design industry, they can help Singapore scale up their design talent through the design, the strong design workforce that India has. Similarly, Indian companies can also consider setting up operations in Singapore to explore the Southeast Asian markets, and having proximity to those markets would help Indian companies a lot. The opportunities exist not just on the business-to-business side, but also on the government-to-government side as well. So implementation of common standards in electronic system design, manufacturing, and testing will help the companies on both sides to have an easier access to the markets for both the countries. Similarly, partnerships between sector skill councils will go a long way in developing the skilled talent pool in both the countries. And also, the governments can explore the joint R&D collaboration opportunities, wherein they can set up a joint R&D fund to invest in those technologies which are mutually beneficial to both the countries. So through these collaboration opportunities that exist between India and Singapore, both on the business side and government-to-government side, so there is an estimate that going forward, the bilateral trade between India and Singapore on the ESDM side is going to expand significantly. So while the electronics imports from Singapore, so they are expected to reach $11 billion, growing at a CAGR of 14%, while India's export to Singapore are expected to reach $3 billion, growing at a CAGR of 18%. So those are the kind of synergies that we foresee between India and Singapore that can accelerate the ESDM ecosystems for both the countries, as well as will lead to the stronger economic relationships between both the countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Amit. I'd like to now invite Ms. Wai Lai, Director, SSIA, to give her views on the MOU.
Namaste. Good morning, honorary dignitaries. And it's a great pleasure and honor to be here. I'd like to first apologize on behalf of Mr. Ulf Schneider, which is the president of the Singapore Semiconductor Industry Association, SSIA, for not being able to be here in person. But I'll first like to share that that for decades, there has been a lot of collaborations in terms of areas of trade and industry between Singapore and India. And Singapore is the 7th largest investor in India, and it's also India's largest trade investment partner in ASEAN. And since the Comprehensive Economic Cooperative Agreement in 2005, there has always been significant increase in the expansion of bilateral trades and investment between the two countries. Now, apart from that, IESA and SSIA also share some similar history. Both of the associations has been set up in 2005, and this year and today, IESA celebrates its 10th Vision Summit, and this coming November, SSIA will celebrate also our 10th anniversary. So I believe Amit has earlier presented some of the potential collaboration opportunities between Singapore and Malaysia in the white paper. So Singapore has basically an extensive, comprehensive, end-to-end ESDM ecosystem, very pro-business government policies, and also a very good infrastructure for R&D. But we are also facing increasing challenges in the rising manufacturing cost as also talent crunch. So on the other hand, India has a very large pool of skilled and experienced talents, low cost, and as well as many of the attractive government policies which we have heard from yesterday as well as this morning. So these are important factors that position India as a country with strong competitive advantages for manufacturing. So we believe that the ESDM industry in these two countries will complement each other in their strengths. And with the proliferation of IoT, M2M communications, smart cities, wearables, we will continue to see significant growth in the ESDM industry in the two countries. Now, SSIA is very, very keen to support India in its ambition to set up wafer fabrication facilities. And in March last year, Mr. Ajay Kumar from DATI has visited Singapore, and SSIA, together with the help of the Confederation of the Indian Industry, has organized a roundtable discussion where Mr. Ajay Kumar shared with some of the key industry players on his plans and what are the policies in place for setting up the two wafer fabs here. So SSIA also planned to lead a wafer fab delegation this year to India to facilitate and develop potential business collaborations. So as the saying goes, the whole is always greater than the sum of the parts. And for associations, it's always about reaching out, forging alliances, and synergizing to achieve greater heights. So as such, the MOU between IESA and SSIA is actually a core piece of our association's charter. So as the director of SSIA, I'm very proud to be here to represent our association in this prestigious event and the inking of this alliance, and we are looking forward to fostering stronger ties between the members of the two associations. So we would like to also invite all the members and friends of the semiconductor and electronics industry in Singapore, in India, to come to Singapore. Singapore serves as an ideal location for companies who wish to enter the emerging Southeast Asian market. And last but not least, I'd like to end by saying that SSIA is committed to support Indian companies to help the Make in India vision become a reality. Thank you.